This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
Hello, welcome to Undistracted. I'm your host, Laura Bennett, and this is the podcast where we learn from our guests how to be better at building our lives with intention around our passions, our purpose, and dealing with some of the stuff that gets in the way of that. Whether you're a follower of Jesus or not, mental health issues can affect us all. When you do know Jesus, though, there's pressure to have quick resolution to what ails you and to be able to find full relief in your faith. Josh Baldwin has been part of the Bethel Music Collective since 2014. In recent years, his wife Sheila experienced debilitating anxiety, its effects rippling through the family and now shaping Josh's songwriting and the couple's desire to help others walking the same road. In this conversation, Josh talks to us about the role of peace in healing, why worshipping matters to our soul, and how knowing who Jesus is reframes our understanding of ourselves. Let's welcome Josh to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I feel like everybody at the moment is going through this time where we're on the other side of a crazy few years, yet we're still kind of sitting in the aftermath of a crazy few years. How are you going right now? What's your perspective on where we're kind of sitting at the moment from a cultural perspective?
I think, in some ways, I feel like I'm finally in the groove. And I mean that in the last year and a half has been okay, a normal groove that maybe is starting to feel more normal than. But also, I think what that time did, 2020 and all that, the afterward, it made it, especially in our family, it made everything, we approached everything with a little more intentionality, just every decision was made with a little more okay, is that the best for our family right now? So I like the pace that we're going now. I feel like it's healthier than it was in 2019, right before everything happened. And it's a good season here. We're in a good season here in the Baldwin house.
Yeah, it's good to hear because I know it looks different for everybody. So does that affect your writing, that intentionality?
Yeah, I think so. I think I definitely wrote a lot over pandemic times, which I guess it's been 4 years now. It's so funny that we're still kind of talking about it, but it's been so long ago. But I think I do feel like in a lot of ways writing has been a little more focused, and I feel like I've just grown regardless of what went on in the last 4 years. I would hope that I've grown in the things that I'm doing anyway. But I think, I have been approaching writing with a little more of intentional themes and story locked in a little more even, and just there's been a lot of lives, so there's a lot. It feels like there's a lot more to write about in some ways.
What do you feel like people need from music at the moment? Because for an artist like yourself, obviously you're telling things, you're writing things that are inspired by your own experience, but the songs that you write, they're going to be sung by people all around the world in the context of worship, and it's obviously got that faith focus on it. What do you feel like people need from music that sits in that space?
Oh, I think other than just the obvious of just the truth, just us voicing the hope of Jesus, and that obviously I feel like on the other side there's I feel like an authenticity and just an honest approach that is so needed, and I think it's happening in worship and in Christian music. I feel like if anything the last few years has taught us we just need to be honest with what's going on in our lives, but also honest with helping people through it, not just songs of just here I am in my situation and it's, pain or hurt, all that, which is all, I don't want to dismiss that, that's happening, but also in what we do and who we are as believers, it's so vital to also put in the hope of Jesus in that. And just not just songs that come out of hurt, but songs that are birthed out of healing and out of this is where I went when I was going through this. And this is how it can help you, that kind of thing. So I feel like those songs are so vital now, and I think they're happening. I think it's been great.
Yeah, there's got to be a way to, point people forward. Like I think it was Erwin McManus who said in this space where people are craving authenticity, it has meant that we hear a lot more about what people's challenges are. And yes, that's good.
Yeah.
You want that authenticity, but he was kind of speaking about the need for there to be a communication of that equally authentic challenge and decision to pursue hope, because that can be so
Right.
much harder than the
Totally.
ease of just saying, I give up. This is also difficult.
Right. No, it's easy in a lot of ways to just sing or talk about all your stuff and what's good, and I think there's a lot of times when I think that's good in a way because it helps people feel like they're not alone in
Mm,
this. Like, yeah, like I'm going through this too. But on the other end, it's like, yeah, let's do that and let them not feel alone, but also bring like the hope of Jesus into it. And like, guess who else went through this and took on all our pain, all our sin, and died and then rose again. And that's how why we have victory. Like the Lord is with it. And so,
mm.
no, I totally agree with that. That's so good.
And you've
Yeah.
got to have an understanding of who Jesus is, who God is, I guess, to even recognize, like in one of your songs on the new album, Made for You, it's called Prince of Peace. And if you've never
Oh yeah.
understood the idea of Jesus being the Prince of Peace or that peace part of God's nature, you're not going to
Yeah.
realize how that can be a positive effect on your situation, of your mentality through something then.
Yeah, no, totally. I think I mean I love that one because I love it for so many reasons. But then yeah, I love just looking at like the nature of the Lord. I mean, and in that song, like sing about the chorus I sing about so many, like, he's our savior, our friend, our healer, our defense, and all these things that we do sing about a lot in church of just like he's coming, he's
Yeah.
saving me, my victory, and all this like battle things, that is true. But I think that's the thing I loved about that song in particular was it just talks about also he just sits with me and
Mm,
he is the Prince of Peace that comes and it blows my mind. I don't understand it. It passes all my understanding, but he's just with me in this moment. And it feels, I mean, I don't want to say like new, like I haven't said, but it just feels honest and real to just sing about that part of
mm.
of who Jesus is.
And I
And
think you're right in saying that, really, because I mean, even in the sort of church traditions I've grown up in, it has always been very much more about that, like, let's go, let's like,
yeah,
I hesitate to say kind of like it's that conquering kind of thing, and like let's break
yeah,
forward.
totally.
But and there is, yes, a place for that. But you're right in saying that I think especially now, people do just need to say, can we just pause? Can we take a breath? Like there is so much kind of fight and battle within the environment of the world in so many different contexts that when it comes to
Yeah,
our faith, sometimes that is the place where people just want to take a breath and be refreshed for a minute, you know?
right. No, totally. And I think, I mean, there's so many times that the battle is like in our mind, honestly.
Mm,
And a lot of times that doesn't feel like it's conquerable through just like fight the battle with the it just feels like I just need to know that the Lord's with me. I just
mm,
need to know that I'm not alone. I think especially with that, as far as like in the mind and just in it, whether it be anxiety or depression or any of that, it doesn't necessarily feel like something that's just like, yeah, I had that and then I got healed and then I just never dealt with it again.
mm,
It feels like sometimes a weekly, a daily, a monthly kind of like okay, hit with this again. Like, okay, Lord, sit with me. I need the victory. I need to like grab onto who you are, my peace. It's like just a reassurance of knowing that he's with us
mm.
always.
Has that been your experience? From a mental perspective, I feel like there's so many people that go through this, whether it is sort of that formal diagnosis of anxiety or depression, or just each of us on the ups and downs of life. Like, is it your experience that your mind is something that is a little bit more of a kind of a nuisance, I suppose, that you've got to kind of
Yeah.
rein in a bit?
I mean, yeah, it is. I haven't necessarily been hit with like anxiety like that grabs me and I can't like physically shake it.
Mm,
I'm definitely like a worrier. I definitely that's probably more of the mind where my mind goes and wanders and is just in worrying that things aren't going to be okay, whatever that is.
mm,
From the biggest thing to just the smallest little day-to-day thing, I go into the worrying thing. And my wife though has dealt with anxiety and just panic attacks over the off and on over the last 5 years. And in that sense, I've been around it a lot just with her, and that's been part of her. I mean, definitely part of her story, but then our story, even as a couple and as a family. I mean, when you're married, you don't just go through things alone. And
Mm,
it's both of you together. And that's even how Prince of Peace, that song that we were talking about, that's how it even just started. It started as a song that I wrote for her. I wrote it as if I'm her singing the song to the Lord
mm,
and just taking like the things I've heard her say, just like I don't feel like I'm in control of my world around me. I feel like I'm wrestling with my demons and that kind of thing. And we just threw that in the song. Like I just want to be honest and just I don't know that this is a worship song. I don't know that I'll sing it on Sunday morning, but I just need to write an honest song about what I feel like my wife is going through and what I feel like she needs to hear.
mm,
And we've seen breakthrough. That was a year ago, a little over a year ago, that it really it had hit like an all-time like rough spot as
mm.
far as like anxiety and depression in our home. And that's when that song was birthed. And we've had a lot of breakthroughs since then, and she's doing amazing. The cool part about all that too is that I mean, it's this is our story too. She knows that I'm talking about
Yeah.
this, obviously.
Got to get the wife's permission always.
Yeah, no, I've got permission from her, and so much so that I say that because this is a live album made for more than I did, and that night we recorded this album at my little church down the road here in Tennessee, and we most of these songs are all like worship songs that we would do on Sunday morning, very corporate together,
Mm,
and we did those with our church. But then we had this one song, Prince of Peace, that I felt like it was so important to sing, even though I know it's maybe not like a necessarily like a worship song we're going to do at church much, but it just felt so real and important because of what's in the last 4 years, what
yeah.
been like such a way that the enemy's like really attacked people is in their minds. And I felt like there was so much life and hope on the song. And so we did that. I talked about this story that night, even just writing it. We sang the song together, and then after that, my wife came up and she shared her testimony, and then we just went through the room. We just had like kind of some ministry time, and she just prayed for people who were dealing with anxiety and dealing with depression, and
Mm,
it was such a sweet moment in the night. And it's it's not like okay, it's done. I don't ever deal with this anymore. It hasn't been to that level
yeah.
since then, but we've seen victory and we've seen healing. And I feel like a lot of that, it feels special to have a song that feels honest and that can talk
Mm.
about it and be authentic with just even the verses, like I said, just being real, but also have hope in there too. It's been
It's
a
incredible that both of you together have chosen to share that story because I know that it's going to be something that many people relate to, and it is that actual reminder that neither of you are alone in that, but also for people
right.
listening, they're not alone in their experience of that, and it's a reminder as you describe that night too, the role that that worship has, the role that being with other people has in the way that we change our perspective, in the way that we perhaps find healing in some of these situations. For people that aren't
Yeah.
as familiar with that idea of, the role in worship in our spiritual and personal health, the role of kind of taking that time, how would you explain, how worship
Yeah.
helps us find direction, find healing in whatever part of life it might be?
I mean, I think even going back to just even the reason we were created was just to be in communion with the Lord and to give him worship, to give him the worth that he is deserving of. And I think when we come together corporately as a church and bring all of our stuff together, we all come in with whatever it is, our the circumstances of the week or day that are just bringing us down or whatever, we come in and when we collectively just get our minds off of ourselves and just focus on the Lord together, that just something happens that shifts the atmosphere, but can also also just shed light on like the hope that is Jesus. It's like I said earlier, like the enemy wants to make us feel like we're alone.
Hmm.
And it is easy when you're going through things to honestly just get by yourself and just be in your stuff by yourself alone. And it's weird, it's like we don't want to feel alone, but then also you kind of gravitate to
Yeah.
just getting by yourself, it's so weird. And I think that's the beauty of church, that's the beauty of community. And the Lord, even from the very beginning was like man shouldn't be alone.
Hmm.
And I think that's why we need church. That's why we need to come together and also, share with each other like what we're going through so that we see that we physically aren't alone in this, but
Hmm.
also let's also look to the Lord and get our eyes off of ourselves for a minute here and join together corporately and just give the Lord the honor and the praise and worship that he's due. And there's something about that that can be more healing than we even I think can imagine. There's so many steps that you can do and this and that to get healing, and they're all I think we're not all, but they're great. But
Yeah.
there's so much that can happen and just come together and worship that the Lord can do that sometimes I don't think we realize like how vital that is.
Yeah. I think it's also, I've always found it a really special picture. Like whether you're in a church environment of 100 people or, 1,000
Yeah.
people, it's like everybody kind of goes in and you get that space where you're sharing together. And then everyone obviously goes out. And I've always liked the idea, that you may not meet all those people and you may not know where they go out. But then when you're in your, Monday to Friday, it's like somewhere out there is someone else who's shared an
Yes.
experience with you. They're walking in the world, maybe in a
Yeah.
similar way to you, but it's kind of like you have that, like an invisible network almost of
Yeah.
people that are shoulder to shoulder, whether we cross paths in the week or not.
No, that's such a good picture. Yeah, I haven't thought about that. That's so good. Yeah, everybody, you all go out into the world and you're all not together, but you are together because you know that you're not alone because you've been together
Yeah,
and
yeah.
can come back. No, I love that. I think that's so important. That's why, gosh, I mean, church is so important. I feel like it's funny. Jen Johnson, I'm with Bethel Music, and Jen always says, she's like, don't stop going to church because you'll get weird. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, go to church, keep going to church so you don't get weird, which
Hmm.
is funny. I'm sure a lot of people think our church is weird, but
And they'd probably put it the other way. Like if you
yeah,
keep
they're
going, you're
probably
going to
don't
get
go to
weird,
that
right?
church. That church will make you weird. Yeah. No, but which that couldn't be true with some churches. But and I think that's so true. You need community, and whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, I think it's just the knowing. Because when you are alone, when you're out there in the world, just knowing that you have people who are doing the same thing you're doing,
Mm.
and they're lifting you up, and you can be lifting them up. It's yeah, so important.
Yeah, I can't take it for granted. And I'm glad you brought up Jen because
Right.
the title track of the album,
Yeah.
Made for You, you guys share this together. It really is,
Yeah.
it's such a powerful song that again, it's something that is a perspective shift. I want you to tell us about it. Made for More. What was the
Yeah.
inspiration behind this song?
I was writing with some friends of mine, Jesse, Blake, and Jonathan, and we came in, and I think the whole conversation started around the Roman 6, where it essentially like we're buried with him in baptism into death, in order that just as Christ was raised, that we can walk in a newness of life as well. And we just kind of were talking about that and just dead and alive in Christ. Anyway, that's where the initial line, my friend Jesse, she was like, I just keep hearing this thing like, I wasn't made to be tending a grave. And it was like, whoa,
Mm,
that's so cool. It felt just fresh, a fresh way to say it.
yeah.
Like, I'm not made, like tending, obviously, like he is risen, but also just like even the grave and our past and just the things that our failures, we're not meant to be like tending those still. We were alive in
Mm,
Christ. And so it started to take that path and like let's talk okay, let's talk about like what the Lord has done for us, and we were born and raised and called back to life with him. But then it also, because of that, I think it was like we started to realize like this isn't just a song singing about like what the Lord's done for us in his death and resurrection, but also it's like a song about identity. Like
mm,
because of that, it's like because of what he did, what does that mean for us? Like it said, he's on the cross saying, it's finished, but also that's like the beginning for what is and that's where we started writing the verses, and we talked about the cross of salvation is only the start. I love that. And that calls back to Isaiah 43, where he was saying that you have called you by name and you're my own. And I feel like this song ended up being like a song really just talking about our identity with Christ and who we are in him, and how the more we know the Father, the more he starts to reveal who we are. And
mm.
the more we can even fall in line with who we were truly called to be, and that we are made for more in him. And we find that out the more we learn about him. And I love that because I feel like, especially in this day and age, we're getting bombarded and hit with so many outside voices and things trying to tell us who we are or
Mm.
who we are supposed to be or who we're not. I think it's so important to just be grounded in knowing that, like, here's who the creator of the universe says you are.
Mm.
Yeah.
How does that kind of, how would you sort of frame that? How does knowing who God is really impact the way we understand ourselves?
Oh, wow. That's such a deep question. Gosh, I mean, I think, well, I mean, I know for me, the more I read about him, the more I learn his heart, the more I mean, as I become a dad, like I start to like see like how much he loves me and how much the Lord loves you and how just how seen you are and with him. And yeah, I think there's so much that I mean, even like in my age and I've done this for a long time, I still am like learning so much about who I am just as I get to know more about the Father and more about his heart. And some of that is from being a dad, and some of
Mm,
that is from being a husband, and some of that's from, learning how selfish I think we naturally are, and just like, and how giving the Father is, and that he gave the most precious thing to him, his
mm,
son, us. And now, and especially like I said earlier, in this day and age, it's so vital to make sure that our identity and who we are is set and grounded in the Lord and in the Father. Because yeah, there's so many directions and narratives and paths that want to like throw you off. I
yeah.
hope that makes sense.
No, it does
So
make sense. And it can be hard to stay focused. And that's kind of what, this podcast is about. It's called Undistracted. And we often talk with you, our guests, about how to live in pursuit of your passion, your purpose, the
yeah,
thing that you really feel, set on fire by, perhaps called to, if you want to frame it that way. How do we deal with the stuff that gets in the way of that? For people
yeah.
listening right now, how would you help us? What would you say it takes to live that kind of undistracted life?
Man, I mean, for me, it's like I have to go about everything like very practical, very like, okay, what is distracting me? Like, honestly, put your phone down. For me, it's like I need to put my phone down. And I've gotten back to just a simple like devotion with the Lord, like even just in the mornings. I think I had gotten out of that for years, and just set time. I would kind of like have my time with the Lord at
Mm,
random moments, maybe during the day or maybe during the week or maybe every once, just like I wasn't setting aside time,
yeah.
it wasn't on my day to day, boom, this is me and God. And that's a very practical and just like, okay, simple way to say, but that's when I feel the distractions come in, and that's when I feel them taking over and having more of a power over me, is when I'm not having that daily, like, no, this is me and the Lord. And for me, I have to start the whole day off with that, with just,
Mm,
okay, focus on that instead of like, it's so easy to just like grab my phone and immediately just go to Instagram. It's so
yeah. We
crazy.
all do it.
We all do it. And it's like, I mean, I still do it. And I'm not saying like I figured it out. It's nuts to me in the middle of doing it. I'm thinking, it's like 6:30 in the morning. Why is my first thought to grab my phone and look at Instagram? I don't even care about most of the like, and most of this isn't even my
Yeah.
friends. It's just random. It's just like but you try to convince yourself, well, I just need to.
Yeah.
But the more I choose to not do things like that and actually have my first focus be on the Lord, it helps with the distractions. It
Mm,
helps with that. The more I connect with my wife and just talk and us communicate and talk about our kids and talk about our life and not just be on our devices all the time, they help with the distractions. Because I mean, I feel like there's so many ways to be distracted
mm,
from our relationship with the Lord, but just life, just being present. There's so many ways. And I think that's the challenge, is to just be present with the Lord in everything, be in prayer. Oh gosh, pray
the
without ceasing.
yeah.
I think that means to me is like to, not just like I'm sitting here at the altar, kneel down praying with that, but just in everything I'm doing throughout the day, is my mind like returning back to the Lord, returning back to who He is, returning back to His presence and what He's done for me. So.
So well expressed, Josh. Thank you so much for chatting with us today. Really appreciate your time, and well done on the album Made for More. It's incredible.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be on. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode. You can find more wherever you get your podcasts. Also, make sure you subscribe and check out some of the video versions of these episodes on the Hope 1032 YouTube channel. You can also reach out to me, laura.bennett_ on Instagram, or email undistracted@hope1032.com.au. Until next time, enjoy living this undistracted life.